It's going to be a repeat of what we've already said. Trust yourself. You already have the answers. They are in there. Even if you don't feel like you have a relationship with your inner self or that internal compass, it's still there. It's just hiding or covered up. So just trust that at the end of the day, you do know what is best for you. You do know what you want, and you do know what is right for you. It might be a matter of practicing, cultivating that discernment and awareness, but you know what you need. You know what's best for you. So trust yourself.
Welcome to Inspiration Contagion, where we spread inspiration one story at a time. I am your host, Holly Jean Jackson. Each interview spotlights transformational business leaders, their stories, challenges, and advice for how you too can lead yourself and others through inspiration. Learn how you too can achieve peak performance, build more revenue, and lead the legacy you were meant to lead. Are you ready to hear the secret sauce to your relationship with money and perhaps what your blind spots are regarding money? Well, this week's episode 133, we're bringing to you a special guest with lots of juicy content and information that's going to help you. Her name is Allie Beckmann. She's the founder of Liberated Financial. I don't know about you. I want to feel liberated when it comes to my finances. Where mission-driven individuals and business owners are empowered to use money as a tool to turn their dreams into reality. One that reflects their values and their vision for impact. As a comprehensive flat-fee financial planner, wealth manager, and behavioral coach, Allie partners with leaders, tech execs, and service-based entrepreneurs to bring order to their finances and to guide them on an efficient path to financial security and well-being. Oh my goodness. Don't we need more of that in the world, Allie?
Yeah, but I'm a little biased.
What is your secret sauce, or what makes you an inspirational leader?
Yeah, I love it. Diving in. It's funny because I think when I was thinking about this ahead of time, I don't think of myself as inspirational. So it's a little interesting to kind of think of it that way. I think for me, what comes up is I'm resilient. Okay, I'm resilient as fuck. I have started over so many times in my life in very different ways. I've started over from scratch so many times. And I think it's that trust I've built in myself to, one, take those risks, to try new things, and then figure out how to make it work when it feels like I'm, totally out of my depth. I've done that so many times now that I feel like I've built a really incredible and resilient self-trust that I can handle anything.
Oh my goodness. And today, more than ever, with all the craziness in the world, I feel like there are probably a lot of business owners, business leaders, people in business development or sales that are tuning in, and they are feeling a little bit of overwhelm, a little bit of chaos, y'all. What brilliant advice is that to really be the resilience queen, just kind of naming you that, and to have that kind of self-trust and self-confidence. My goodness, we need more of that today. So to pivot to, I feel like the world needs more inspiration. That's why we started the podcast. But I would love to hear from your perspective, what does inspiration mean for you? And then kind of a secondary question to that is, how can folks lean into building that self-trust as they lean into their definition of inspiration?
Yeah. So I think for me, when I think about what inspiration means to me, it's ignition. It's a catalyst. It's something that ignites movement and action. It's the seed of something. And when I think of inspiration like that, I think inspiration can come from literally anywhere. And so I think it's also a mindset. It's a perspective we can choose. We can choose to be open to inspiration. We can choose to not be open to inspiration, right? So it's more of a cultivating a receptivity to what's happening around us and within us, and then attuning to those signals to then take those sparks that ignite something within us and then do something with it. So I think it's directly linked to curiosity. I think curiosity really fuels and sets the stage for that foundation to kind of receive the inspiration, and a willingness, right? We have to be willing. We have to be open to it. We have to be willing to receive that inspiration. As far as how do we cultivate self-trust, Holly, I mean, we could spend a lot of time talking about that. And I'll speak from my perspective. Cultivating self-trust has come from having to prove it to myself. I've had to face obstacles, face fear, face insecurity, face doubt. And only when I come out on the other side, I'm able to say, like, look what I did. I've been really focusing personally on, looking at my progress, acknowledging my progress. And so I think it's this, if we can use that backward measuring stick of look at where we started and look at where we are today, we almost, no matter how strong our internal monsters and voices can be, that's proof, right? It's like, well, look where I started. And if you want to even get exacting in terms of numbers, even, it's like, well, look where I started and look where I am today. And so that's undeniable progress. And so I think when you can, take the time to reflect on your own journey with objectivity and or compassion, you're proving the case to yourself, and you're going to be the hardest one to convince.
100%. So the two key things I heard from what Allie just shared are, number one, inspiration is a choice. We can choose to be in fear, or we can choose to be in love or inspiration. I intentionally choose inspiration every day, and I'm human. I'm not perfect. I have moments where I go down that rabbit hole of fear, and then I'm more quick to catch that, oh goodness, fear got, like that little fear monster on my shoulder, like just flick them to the back seat, into the background, and say, hey, thanks for letting me know. I'm paying attention to this, but not listening to you. And then another thing too that I think today is really important more than ever is, like you said, that look back. And sometimes the proof is in the hindsight. So it's really important, and we're not necessarily very good at this, but having what I like to say, the jar of awesome or the jar of celebrations, so that on those days where you don't feel inspired, or you feel kind of backed into a corner, you're stressed about something with work, maybe your sales conversions are slowing down, your mojo is off in your business, having that jar of Post-it notes of all of these small, big, medium wins that you have as kind of a gratitude for where you come from is very, very helpful, and something tangible folks can use to start building trust, building confidence, and choosing inspiration each day. But we're going to pivot just a tiny bit here. We're going to talk about peak performance, one of my favorite things. And everybody has such a grossly different definition of this. So I'm super excited to hear how you define peak performance today and how you arrived at this definition.
Yeah, this is also, it was interesting to reflect on this concept, because I don't think it's something I think about so explicitly necessarily. And I used to be a professional performer for 15 years. And so my relationship to performance is different than others. I think for me, when I think about this as a larger concept, I'm like a hardcore recovering perfectionist overachiever. And so when I think about peak performance now, it's different than, what I probably would have defined it as 15, 20 years ago. But for me, I think peak performance is all about alignment. What it actually looks like, what peak performance looks like in action is going to change as our life evolves. And frankly, I think day to day, like, what's my peak performance today based on how I am in this world and like my internal and external conditions. So I think peak performance is about cultivating a really, really keen sense of internal discernment and understanding what alignment means and feels like to you. Again, it comes back. You're going to hear this theme echoed in probably all of my answers, that like internal self-awareness is the foundation for it all, because the more we can cultivate that internal sense of awareness, the more we'll be able to identify and discern what alignment feels like for us. And when we're operating in alignment, micro to macro scale, that's when I think peak performance is possible. But that said, I think what it actually looks like changes day to day and over the various chapters of our lives.
Yeah, 100%. Really wise definition as well. And especially when I'm working with female founders, depending on what they're navigating personally, hormonally, family changes, all the things, our peak performance changes. And I also find that as I don't like to say age, but as I become a fine wine of wisdom and wealth and knowledge, I find that my peak performance requires more rest. And that's difficult for a lot of our type A perfectionists, recovering perfectionists, is you actually get so much more done with rest. And when we're in alignment, for people who are kind of like, well, that sounds very nefarious, I'm not really sure how I can actually tangibly define alignment. That's why we're talking about that internal discernment, that internal compass, which is something we use with our clients. So they have clarity on everything they should say yes to because it is in alignment and keeping them on their personal path. And it's very difficult today to stay aligned and to have and practice that discernment with the noise of the world. There's that
so noisy.
Compare and despair, and how she's doing it, and how Allie's doing it, and how he's doing it. And oh, I should launch the next thing and chase that shiny object. So the more you can go and look back internally and feel where your flow is, where that alignment is, and what feels like peak performance for you, then you can quickly identify and discern, is this a good day where I should crush that really big project? Or is this a day where maybe I'm not feeling it and I'm actually going to be better off doing some of the simple tasks or just resting?
Right.
And that comes with practice, a lot of practice.
Totally.
Yeah. So obviously you're human. You're not a robot. I know we haven't been replaced by them yet. Funny enough, I went to a concert where they had robots on the stage and they were like, alluding to this concept, scary, crazy world that we are. But what are some of the challenges and obstacles you faced along your journey to today's definition of peak performance? I get that response every time.
Where do I begin? I think, without going down the rabbit hole of the details, because, something I've really learned to embrace about my particular soul's journey on this earth is that obstacles are part of my growth. Like, I am here to meet obstacles because they are a portal to growth. So listing all of them feels a lot. But what I think, if I can think about it in a more general sense, I think it was a big overarching obstacle was focusing too much on performance rather than process and being way too driven by outcome, because I think there can be a long road between seed of inspiration and product. And I think that path is where we can often get out of alignment. And then if we're out of alignment while we're working toward a goal, it's very unlikely that we're going to actually reach that goal and it will be what we want. So I think I've really learned to cultivate such a deep appreciation and love for the process, getting to that point of what we're calling performance or outcome or product, and really enjoying the journey, even if it's challenging.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so excited to talk about this in a little more detail. There's so much to break apart. And for those of you who have listened to the podcast and know me, I love the metaphor of rock climbing. Right now, my current obstacle is not focusing on the outcome, or in rock climbing terms, sending the route. And with that comes a lot of unpacking the comparison and despair. Like, there's this fear of failure to perform, this fear of missing the target, this fear of getting it right, this fear of losing connection to people around you because of embarrassment. There's all these factors that I don't struggle with as much in my business, but I certainly struggle with in my climbing career because that's younger. It's more youthful and it's different. And there's so much fear packed into that. What I love about what you just shared about this is when you plant that seed in business, there's a long journey a lot of times before we fully see that plant come to its full beautiful form. That doesn't mean you can't get outcomes quickly, but it means the full fruition of what you've planted takes time, and it takes nurturing, it takes belief, it takes investment, and it takes trusting the process and enjoying all those micro celebrations along that journey, including, I love that you said your soul's journey is to face obstacles because of the growth. Everything we experience is for us. And that includes obstacles. And when I am on a route trying to do a difficult move or trying to work past my mental headspace, because 90% of it is headspace, which the same thing applies to business. It's a beautiful metaphor. When you can do that one move, get that one moment of awareness, choose inspiration in the moment, these small, tiny wins build such a firm, strong, beautiful foundation where you can enjoy the small lessons, the small wins, and you enjoy the journey versus comparing. So that gets me so excited. I'm like, yes.
And to your point, right? That's what we add up in our jar. It's like, look, I overcame that, no matter how small. And it becomes evidence, like real evidence that we build that self-trust. And the last thing I would want to add is that, again, I've embraced the fact that like obstacles are part of my life. It just is what it is. And I don't think, I'm a long time advanced yogi. And a lot of times when people come into that kind of like a healing, quote unquote, path, they expect life to get easier. And I'm like, yeah, you're in for a real surprise, because it's not that life gets easier. It's not that obstacles go away. It's your ability to relate to them changes, your ability to engage with them, overcome them, process them in a way that doesn't totally spiral you. That's what changes. There's a belief in the yoga tradition that it's not that, your life gets easier the deeper you practice. It's that you're only given what you can handle. And so as you cultivate more and more skills, those things might be more and more intense because you can handle it, though. That's the thing. We're never given more than we can handle.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I'm also a practice yogi, and I totally understand what you're saying, but I also know, even with that evolution of being that yogi, being that healer, accepting the path that you're only given what you can handle, I cannot stand it when I am in the thick of the storm and somebody says, you're only given what you can handle. I'm like, yes, and I am a human, and right now I just want to complain and cry for 5 minutes, and then I will get on with this.
Totally. We got to honor the journey.
Yes, honor the journey. But I will say, if you are a healer or you have like this awareness similar to Allie and I, yes, it does not get easier. Life throws you more curveballs because you can handle it. And it's amazing what you can handle. It is truly amazing. So just celebrate how strong you are, and that life knows you can handle this. Yeah. So we're going to pivot just a little bit. I want to talk about money. This is the thing that we talked about in the beginning of the episode, the thing that people like to hide like skeletons in their closet, the thing that people feel so much shame about and have a terrible relationship with. So when have you left money on the table, and how did you fix it?
I mean, there are so many ways I could answer this question. It's like, at what point? I feel like when I think about on a macro level, I opted out of money for like, I don't know, the first 30 plus years of my life, and just kind of opted out of that entire system. So that's one way. I think when I think about my business, a little more current terms, a more tangible example was like, I'm always in that assessment and reassessment mode, And so even recently, I was looking at the way I was structuring my services and packages and pricing in my financial advising business. I had 3 different tiers set up. And recently, as I continue to reevaluate what's worth my time, what's worth my energy, what's driving me toward the goal that I'm ultimately aligned with, and are the things I'm doing to get there aligned as well, I realized I needed to change kind of that model and switch to more of a core package, which helped me up level and focus the type of client I was seeking and targeting, and up level, it raised my prices then as well. And so it was that reevaluation of what's working, what's not. And again, where am I ultimately trying to go? And are the things I'm currently spending my time and energy on the best way to help me get there? So it's awareness, coming back to that awareness, but also having good data and tracking so I can, back it up with real numbers. So I think making that switch in pricing was a tangible action I could take to just start making my revenue flow a little bit better for me.
I love it. So you guys, in case, you were waiting for the secret to how this all works, 2 things that I want to pull apart that she just shared that we share with clients and really emphasize. The number 1 secret to being successful in your relationship with money and sales is to focus. So we're talking about focused alignment in terms of who you love working with, your dream client. What is the number 1 thing that they need, and repeating that and selling that, making that what we call your sweet spot service. So that's the thing you're going to sell the most. It's the easiest thing for you to sell, and making sure that pricing is aligned. The second secret is so simple, but people miss it all the freaking time. You guys ready for this? Look at your data and what's successful, and repeat it and scale it versus chasing the next damn shiny object. I mean, come on, you guys. It's so crazy to me when we have new clients or we chat with people that are struggling as collaboration partners, and we ask them, well, what is your most successful product or service? And they can't answer it. 2, they haven't scaled it. 3, they're chasing 5 shiny objects, and it feels like I'm on a phone call with somebody who's schizophrenic or bipolar because they are just so all over the place.
Yeah.
Whereas the most successful people are focused, aligned, and they use data to continue to grow and scale their success over time.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 secrets: focus and data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Data.
I know, right?
Track.
It's sexy. Reframe your relationship with money and data. They are sexy. They will help you scale in so many powerful ways and get rid of the chaos factor.
Yeah.
This has been amazing, Allie. We're going to wrap it up with 2 quick rapid fire questions. What is the best piece of advice you would share with others today?
It's going to be a repeat of what we've already said. Trust yourself. You already have the answers. They are in there. Even if you don't feel like you have a relationship with your inner self or that internal compass, it's still there. It's just hiding or covered up. So just trust that at the end of the day, you do know what is best for you. You do know what you want, and you do know what is right for you. It might be a matter of practicing, cultivating that discernment and awareness, but you know what you need. You know what's best for you. So trust yourself.
Yeah. Stop asking for permission from anybody else, you guys. For somebody who needed to hear that today. What is the legacy you would like to leave behind, Allie?
I just want to make people's lives better. I want to help people enjoy their time on this earth in a more fulfilling way, whether it's through money, whether it's through creativity, whether it's through friendship. But I'm a peace and love kind of gal. And so if anything I can leave on this earth, it's when people think of me, they smile and are filled with love.
If you guys resonate with the hippie capitalist vibe that I believe Allie and I both fit under, I highly recommend you connect with Allie. She's one of our collaboration trusted partners. We love referring her clients and business. We have all the links to her website, her socials. Please connect with her if this was a good vibe for you, and please share this episode out. Thank you so much, Allie.
Thank you for having me, Holly.
You're so welcome. Allie reminded us today that money should reflect your vision. But here's the thing, if your business strategy is fuzzy, your bank account will be too. So let's let that sink in. I don't want that for you. So if your revenue plan is feeling more like wishful thinking than a strategy, book a call with me so we can fix that fast. And we will see you on our next episode to share inspiration. Thanks, y'all. Thank you for joining the show today. I hope you were inspired. More importantly, I hope you take action. If the show inspired you, I ask that you subscribe and share it with your network. Let's spread inspiration together today.